You are listening to SPN, the Sports Podcasting Network.
من هناك لشوارشتايجر
Va a pegar el Ronaldinho Gaucho. Ya lo hace. Pierna derecha, directo al arco. ¡Golazo! 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 ¡Golazo!
This is Soccer Today, live on SPN Radio, your new live show about the beautiful game in all its glory, with Duane, Rollins and Kevin Laramee. MLS, EPL, La Liga, Champions League, all is fair game. Powered by the Sports Podcasting Network. Visit us at sportspodcastingnetwork.com.
And good day, good night. Welcome to Soccer Today. Duane Rollins is joining me on the phone today. Duane, last night we had a actually pretty entertaining game between the United States and Martinique, and it was a lot closer than we expected, a lot more entertaining than I expected. What did you think about this 3-2 win by the U.S. last night?
What I thought was welcome to our world, U.S. Martinique is an okay country. You know what? Like, Martinique is a decent side that has done a lot of good things over the years for many Gold Cups in a row. And with all due respect to our American listeners, it's not that embarrassing to beat them 3-2. It really isn't. I know you want to stab yourselves in the eyes, but it's really not that embarrassing.
No, and Martinique was up for it too. They equalized and had a few chances too. Jordan Morris with the game winner just like a minute after. I was going to say Honduras. See, that's the blue and the white. That's what it does to me. It brings back PTSD feelings of a few years ago. But Martinique equalized late in the game at around like the 80th minute, and I was like, "Wow, this is getting very interesting." Anyways, United States were up for it. Their first win of this year's Gold Cup. Now they're at 4 points, and it's going to be an interesting Group B as well with Panama and Nicaragua. Nicaragua bottom of the group as we speak. Panama clearly the second best team, if not the best team in this group.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, Panama was always going to be the second best team in this group, but look, again, with all due respect to our American friends, when you put a lineup out like the U.S. has done in this group, and you shouldn't expect to dominate. You really shouldn't, and it's blasphemy, I know, to say this sort of things, but Martinique is decent, Panama is decent, all of these teams are decent, so really you should just be happy with the two results, because that's what matters right now. And to suggest that you're going to just roll over these teams and score 12 goals a game or whatever how my American friends are thinking it's ridiculous.
Let's break down the game for a second. We had a interesting lineup. No Dom Dwyer. He was on the bench, and the crowd was asking for Dwyer later on in the game, and Bruce Arena never went that route. He actually, with his last substitution, made Dax McCarthy part of this midfield. It was helpful to slow down the last 15 minutes of this game to make sure that the United States got the win or got a result from this game. So Dax McCarthy was influential in the last few minutes of the game, but I really thought it was interesting to see how Bedoya played last night. A player that's struggling, not necessarily struggling for playing time, but he's struggling with his club results right now with Philly, not having the best of season as a club. And as his performances were up to expectations, but not enough to carry this club through maybe a little slot higher than the red line, which means they would make the playoffs. So for Bedoya, I was actually impressed last night to see him used this way in the national team in his performance.
Well, you mentioned Dax off the top there. I think that a lot of it's confused with the fact that Dax hasn't been playing, because to me, he's the player that is most influential with this group of players that are out there. You need a guy on the pitch that can sort of be that glue, be that player that can control situations. And the U.S. just really hasn't had that. And Dax in his club play throughout his career has been that player. Look, I think he right now should be a guy that's playing all the time for the U.S. But hey, for him to not start that game, maybe we saw the results of that.
Yeah, I think it was clearly Bruce Arena not necessarily taking Martinique lightly, but rotating the squad, trying to use other pieces and trying to test players. Uh, like last night, like a Acosta, Kellen Acosta, which did not have the best game to start the tournament, and was quoted in the media saying, "Look, I think I need more time with this club, with this country, with the national team. Need not necessarily more minutes, but more games to get accustomed correctly, like to acclimatize and to adjust and to adjust his play to the benefit of the country." And yesterday we did see some progress with Acosta and Bruce Arena. I'm interested in this. Bruce Arena decided to start him. You all right? You want to talk like you think you need more time to get adjusted? Well, here's your time.
well, Bruce Arena's always been kind of like that. Like, here we go. Like, prove yourself. And that's kind of what this whole tournament is about for the U.S., right? Like, this lineup is not going to be the U.S.'s first choice lineup, and even it's not even going to be the U.S.'s first choice lineup in a week. So these guys, they need to step up. And I think that a lot of what's happening right now is that, I mean, as much as people want to say that the sky is falling, this is about this group of players right now getting an opportunity to show whether they belong or whether they don't. Because really, as much as the U.S. is playing for this particular Gold Cup championship, they're as much playing for 4 spots in next year's World Cup team, because they're going to be there, and that's really what this is about. So, again, sky is falling, blah, 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 but it's really not that big of a deal. You got the results. Move on, guys.
And that's why, Jordan Morris with his 2 goals last night is kind of important for him for next year. Not necessarily being a first choice for the roster of 23 that will go to Russia for the World Cup. He kind of needs to prove himself in meaningful game time, and that was last night. And the timing of his second goal to take the lead late in the game is kind of what you want to prove yourself, right?
Well, no, absolutely. And Jordan Morris has not had a good year with Seattle. He really has not. As a non-American, it's easy to sort of step up and kind of make fun of Jordan Morris because there's been so much hype around him for the years, but not so much this year. But last night, I think that he sort of stepped up and said, "Hey, I'm still here. I'm still a guy. I'm still a guy that should be not taken for granted. That should be respected, et cetera, et cetera." So yeah, absolutely. If you're an American, you want to find a really positive about last night, it's Jordan Morris.
Now, the next game for the U.S. is July 15th. So that would be Saturday night in Cleveland this time around, another doubleheader. This game will be at 7 p.m. Eastern. Nicaragua, United States. Nicaragua lost 2-1 yesterday, Duane, before the U.S. game versus Panama. Panama undefeated. Gabriel Torres, the former designated player for Colorado, got the job done late in the game. What does it say now? We have those 2 games remaining in Group B. Right now, as we are talking, the U.S. are top of Group B with 4 points, a goal differential of +1, but they have 4 goals for, 3 goals against because of their goals for. They're first. Panama second with a win and a draw as well, 4 points, differential of +1, which is the same. Second because of goals for with 3. Martinique, 3 points, a differential of +1. So that could be interesting as well going in the future because top 3 teams of Group B have the same differential, and Nicaragua, bottom of the group this time around with 2 losses, -3. Martinique are probably assured with maybe in 1 more point to maybe get out of the group. But Duane, for sure, Nicaragua is going to finish 4th.
Hey, yeah, Nicaragua is going to for sure finish 4th. What does it say heading into that last game? I mean, I think American fans should really look in the mirror. Does that sound bad to say that? I don't know. Like that they should maybe check themselves a little bit, because I think that there is an element of and Jonathan said this when we had him on the show, of arrogance with the American fan base that thinks that they're miles and miles and miles above the rest of CONCACAF. The reality is there are good clubs, or good, not clubs, good teams in CONCACAF. And we're seeing that right now. If you don't bring out your biggest guys, which they have not, then it's not going to be this walk in the park that a lot of people think. So I'm not, as a non-American, I'm not one to sit back and go, oh my God, what is happening here? This is legit. Like, US is going to get out of this group. They're going to add a few players. They're going to add their Joses. They're going to add their Michael Bradleys, and it's going to be fine. But this idea that the US is this much better than teams like Panama, like teams like Martinique, it's ridiculous. It's just not the case.
Moving on to Group C, which are the teams that are going to be playing tonight. El Salvador, Curacao in Denver, in Sports Authority Field, where the the Denver Broncos play. Super Bowl champions 2 years ago. And the doubleheader, as always, it's been doubleheaders for the last 2 games. Second game on the night, Mexico, Jamaica, a game that I've been looking forward to. 2 teams that have been looking pretty good so far in the Gold Cup. Jamaica with Andre Blake, like some MLS and North American content in Jamaica's national team. Looking between the posts, we have Andre Blake of the Philadelphia Union with Romelio Williams, former Montreal Impact, number one, not number one, but first round draft pick, and Darren Maddox, former Vancouver player, now plays for Portland. So this game, Mexico, Jamaica, could be very interesting tonight.
I mean, you're a little higher Jamaica than I am. I thought they were very lucky in the first game to get a result. So this Mexican team, to me, despite the fact that it's the C team, is clearly the best team in this tournament. So I think that it will be an unfortunate result for the Jamaicans. Andre Blake is going to need to have the game of his life for Jamaica to have a chance.
No, I'm not saying that Jamaica has a chance, not at all. I'm just interested in the game for different reasons, for seeing some MLS content on Jamaica, not a lot on Mexico's side, but it's always interesting when you see Mexico at the Gold Cup, because you discover new players that could be potential target for your MLS club in the future too.
Well, the great thing about watching Mexico's C team is that you see how good they are, and you get frustrated, and you want your country to get as good as they are. Hopefully we have a good game tonight, competitive game tonight. But Mexico's pretty good. I'm enjoying watching Mexico so far. I know it's not cool to admit that, but they're fun to watch. They were fun to watch in that first game.
And the Gold Cup continues once again. Group C's second game tonight, and then there'll be the start of the third game. The groups will start to wrap up, and we'll know who moves out of each groups to the knockout stage, where it actually counts. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about the passing of Chuck Blazer yesterday.
You are listening to Soccer Today, live on SPN Radio. Visit sportspodcastingnetwork.com for more.
And we're back on Soccer Today. Duane Rollins on the phone, Kevin Laramee, myself. Duane, last night it was started to be like a rumor, and then it was announced by his former lawyer as well, Eric Korngold, the death of Chuck Blazer, former FIFA Secretary General, former soccer executive in North America, that disgraced soccer executive. Let's be real here. And he started the whole corruption, basically becoming an informant. Not that he started the corruption. He started the corruption like the fall of Sepp Blatter, let's put it this way, with becoming an informant for the big FBI and Attorney General arrest and investigation that happened a few years ago that eventually led to Sepp Blatter and Platini being banned for life, and what we have seen up to this point. But Chuck Blazer dead at 72.
Yeah, man. Like, I want to say that I'm sad, but I'm not. Like, is that bad to say that? Like, this
Yeah,
guy
it doesn't necessarily look good for you. But one thing is, if it wasn't for him, maybe would still be in a place where it's decided up front where the World Cup's going, who's going to make money off of it. Like it was for the 1990 and 2010 World Cup, so France and South Africa, that those were proven they'd accepted to take bribe to, maybe they took bribe, I don't know that part, but for sure they took bribes, and they had decided and were corrupt when deciding where those World Cup would go. Am I cynic enough to say that, oh, things have all changed and now it's all clean and it's all up and up? I think we have our answer with the Qatar and Russia situation, which is, yeah, it wasn't the same timing of this, but still, like, it's the brave new world. We're not there yet, right? Especially in the sports organization, in Olympics and FIFA sphere of the world of business. Yeah, it's not on the up and up quite just yet, but at least it got a little better. And it's probably because of Chuck Blazer deciding to turn coat.
Maybe, I guess. I don't. Chuck Blazer was a huge part of a lot of my professional, I guess we'll call it professional life, as a podcaster, as a blogger, whatever. He was always there. So this is a significant passing for me. But for me to have sympathy for a guy that I fought against, that I wanted to see taken down for a long time, is a big ask. So,
well, the only thing I'm saying, Duane, is we have to recognize that, yeah, he did very terrible things in the world of business and for soccer in general and how soccer is perceived in this continent. But at least he turned before the end, which is not the case of majority of them.
Fair enough. And perhaps the reason he turned might be for selfish reasons, but at least he did actually speak out and helped create the fall of a lot of people that were equally as bad. But look, this guy, I'm not going to dance in the grave of anyone. I mean, as much as I sort of am already, but obviously he had loved ones, so we wish them well, and et cetera, et cetera. But in terms of his influence on the game, this was a man that was very much front and center during the worst era, instinct, whatever, of FIFA, of CONCACAF, that was very much part of the problem. So I'm not going to mourn him. I'm going to wish his family well, but I'm just not going to mourn him.
This brings me, Duane, to a reflection since I heard the passing of Chuck Blazer last night of what is the state now of those corruption allegations? What is the state of FIFA now? What is, it's been like a year now since Gianni Infantino and the new, quote unquote new, because they were pretty much all there before anyways, is in place. Has it changed? Have we actually seen the beginning of maybe evidence that there's a will to change mentality here?
I don't believe that there will ever be a perfectly pure FIFA, a perfectly pure COA, as IOC, that there will ever be a perfectly pure world in which there's no corruption. But what I do believe is that what happened last year, the last couple of years, with all of these allegations becoming in the forefront, is that both FIFA and the IOC have understood that they have to exist in a world where they're not so blunt about what they're doing. And that sounds really cynical when I say that, but it's not meant to be, because, you know, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts and absolute power absolutely corrupts, right? That's the
It's
old
power
saying.
corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
I
yeah,
think
no.
that we're in a world where these people that have a lot of power now understand that they at least have to give the appearance of not being corrupt, and that is maybe as good as we can hope for. That's really cynical when I say that. I hear myself say that out loud, but I think maybe that might be the best we can hope for, and
Well,
that's what's happening.
what we want is a reflection of society, right? Because man will be man, and when I say man, I mean as a species, not as a man or woman. I just mean like human beings will be human beings, right? So
Mhm.
there's some part of the population that are corrupt. There's some part of the population that are have ill intention, like ill will and bad intentions, and wanting to like profit if it's in an illegal fashion. That doesn't mind. They don't mind, right? They won't just want to make a buck, and you'll find that representation usually in an organization. The bigger it is, the closer to what it is in real life. You should be able to see. It's when it gets higher than that there's a problem, when it's become a part of the culture, and that's what I want to at least see evidence of them changing. Sometimes you have to change structure to make sure that the culture of the prior structure, example, who's the boss of who, and who demands what to who, and who's in a position to maybe profit of a certain decision that they could be taking, and you have to kind of change that structure, or at least have an intention to change it, to show a desire to change how you approach making a buck, or how you approach organizing the actual organization. I know it doesn't make sense, but how you manage it. If you manage it to profit your own self, it's going to be a different decision than for the good of the sport. And I'm not going to be as naive as saying it's going to be always about the good of the sport, but you want to have a same representation as like the social conscience that we actually have.
But what I'll say is this: is that I believe that FIFA, because of the way that the last few years have played out, now understands that it needs to at least appear as if it is not simply in this to profit themselves, and that's a good thing. That's actually something that's positive that they're moving towards. So I'm not going to sit here and believe that FIFA or the IOC has completely been cleaned up, but I do think that they now understand at the top that they have to at least appear to be clean. And based on where they were before, I think that that's enough progress that I'm okay with continuing to watch them, well, continuing to try and demand that they be better.
Just a bit of bits and bites news to finish the show, Duane. Yesterday, the homegrowns were announced and the eligibility and ever. But for Montreal fans, Balou Tabla will be part of the homegrown games, and I'm happy to announce that now it's official. I'll be at the homegrown games. I'll be in Chicago, arriving on the Monday, staying there for the activities of a few days for the Major League Soccer All-Star Game in Chicago. I am looking forward to being in Chi-Town. And you know what, Duane? Deep dish pizza. Yeah, that's what I'm having Monday for lunch.
You know, and I'm happy for you right there. Chicago's a fun town, but yeah, the one thing that I'll say about the homegrown roster is that I was blown away to learn that Raheem Edwards is apparently not a homegrown, which I guess I could have learned earlier, but it's a ridiculous situation where a guy that comes through the academy, a guy that comes through the system is not considered homegrown. But look, I'm not a big All-Star Game fan, but I am a big fan of Kevin Laramee going to Chicago on the backs of our sponsors, and we should get more sponsors.
Well, we'll see this in the. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here, Duane. It's still in the works, but I am going, so we'll see how everything unfolds. But that's the plan. Yes.
Fair enough. I didn't say the sponsor's name, so we're all fine. But no, I You're going to see Real Madrid. That's good. Are you excited, Kevin?
Well, yeah, it's one of the reasons why I want to go. Right, talked to Didier Drogba before, talked to Beckham too. Kind of missing one for my trifecta, two for the quattro. Missing Ronaldo and Messi, and hey, Ronaldo's going to be just a hop and skip away. Guess what? Sports Podcast Network is coming.
All right. Gareth Bale. You're not going to talk to Gareth Bale?
Who?
I don't know. Welsh guy.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He used to be good for Swansea. Yeah.
Sure. All right. No one lost.
Oh, no, not Swansea. What am I talking about? It was playing for Tottenham. See? It's the summer.
Spurs, yes. He is a spud. There's no doubt about it.
All right, Duane. You can follow Duane on Twitter at 24th Minute and myself at Kev Laramee. Anything else about the homegrown that caught your attention? Anything else that caught your attention yesterday, Duane, in the world of soccer?
Look, I mean, the homegrown game is actually my favorite part of All-Star Weekend. I kind of like that. And I think they should do more to sort of highlight the homegrown program, to highlight young players, because I think that right now the MLS is really focused a lot on I don't know, the big names that come over later in their career, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I like that they have a homegrown game. I like that. I like that they're highlighting the young players that exist in this league. I think that's a good thing. So I will watch that game. I will cheer for MLS in that game, as much as I will be cynical and completely kind of boring in how athletic I am about the All-Star game. I do like the homegrown game.
Me, it's not the All-Star game per se that I am excited about. It's everything surrounding it. It's seeing players, usually star players of many different teams, out of their element, being by themselves with other big superstars and acting like a vacation. It is a very interesting. You see a different side of personalities at an All-Star game, and that's one of the many reasons I wanted to go this year. It's to capture that fun, that more of a child going back to play soccer with his friends type of feeling and attitude that the stars do have when they go to an event like this. So I'm really looking forward to that part of the whole journey and the trip. And it's about the journey, they say. It's all about the journey.
Fair enough. And look, I've listened to players talk about the All-Star game and talk about the whole idea that have been very positive about it, because as much as we like to pretend that the sport is already made it and has nowhere to go but up in this part of the world, there is a certain level of reality that exists when those guys that have grown up playing here, or that play here or whatever, have lined up against a team like Real Madrid, where they go, "Oh my God, I'm at the top of the game," and I can appreciate that. I can appreciate how that's good. That's fun for those players, fun for everyone else, and why the players don't react as dramatically to the useless friendlies that exist around this time of year. It's because they are fans too, and they want to be out there. So good for all of them. Good for anyone who cares about Real Madrid v. MLS All-Stars. I don't, but that's not your fault. If you care, fine. And enjoy the All-Star game.
You can follow Duane on Twitter at 24th Minute and myself at Kev Laramee. You can find every on-demand versions of the show that we produce here on SPN at sportspodcastingnetwork.com and on iTunes, Stitcher, Feedburner, Podbay Player, any podcatcher out there, Google Play Store, iTunes as well. Look for Sports Podcasting Network and you can find all our shows. I'm Kevin Laramee, and as always, until tomorrow, have a great soccer.
You were listening to SPN, the Sports Podcasting Network. Visit us, sportspodcastingnetwork.com.